Welcome to Season 8 of the Lighting Your Way podcast. Hi, I'm Betty Long, your host, and this season we are giving the microphone to those who matter most, our patients. Join us as they share their personal journeys, offering candid insights into their experiences, challenge, and triumphs. Melanoma is an aggressive type of skin cancer that develops in the pigment-producing cells called melanocytes. Though it's less common than other skin cancers, melanoma is more likely to spread and become life-threatening if untreated. As with many cancers, early detection is key, as prompt treatment greatly improves the chance of a full recovery. In this episode, I talk with Jessi Clarke, a 27-year-old woman who was worried about a suspicious mole on her lower back and sought attention from both her primary care provider and a dermatologist. Jessi shares with us her experience as well as some tips for all of us to cover up in the sun. Jessi Clarke, thanks for joining us on the Lighting Your Way podcast. We know each other through my nephew Spencer, and both of you right now are living out in the beautiful state of California in San Diego. And I remember this past June, we had a conversation about a pretty scary time that you had thanks to a cancerous mole that you found on your back. Can you tell us about that experience?
Yes, of course. Thank you for having me. So back in June, actually back in April, I was finding myself scratching my back. And of course I couldn't see, but there was a mole that had grown. And to give some context, I'm pretty fair skin with freckles and moles everywhere. So I didn't really think anything of it. But after a few weeks of persistent itching, I got to the point where I was mindlessly itching it and it started to bleed. I was like, I should go in and get it checked out. I did have a friend who had her parents who were dermatologists growing up, so I kind of was aware of what you should do when you have an itchy mole or a concerning looking mole. You should go get it checked. So thankfully I listened to their advice and went in. And I went to Kaiser. In Kaiser, in order to see a dermatologist, you have to go through primary care. And with my primary care doctor, he looked at it and didn't think it was anything of concern, but he sent me just in case to the dermatologist, and thankfully he did, because the dermatologist also didn't think it was anything to be concerned about, but he did the biopsy anyway, and then gave me that call a week later that it was melanoma. Wow. So we went through the whole process of getting a surgeon, and it was just deep enough that they decided to take out lymph nodes to biopsy those to see if the cancer had spread to those. So I had to wait about a month before they could get me in to radiology to be able to do the dye injection into the mole, where it would show you which lymph nodes the blood flow is going to. Okay. And then the same day they did the surgery. So Oof. I can go into that day if you want, or if
wow, that was that's quite a, so let me ask you this. I mean, you grew up in Florida, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes. So obviously you've been exposed to the sun all your life.
Yes, I got a pretty bad sunburn typically once a year. When summer first started, I'd get a sunburn, and then I'd be more cautious from then on out. But okay. Yeah, I didn't wear sunscreen as much as I should have.
Has that changed as you've gotten older?
Yeah, I don't let myself get sunburned anymore. I think when moving to San Diego, it's also not, the sun doesn't, I don't think it's as hot. Obviously, the UV is high, but I'm not out in the sun as much because it cools down as the day goes on. So okay. I try not to be out as much as I was in Florida.
Okay. So I'm just thinking of now, prior to this experience and finding the mole, did you use sunblock during, how long have you lived in San Diego?
Yeah, I was pretty careless with it though. I'd put it on my shoulders. If I had a friend with me, I'd have them spray my back, but a lot of the times I lived about a block from the beach, so I would just walk to the beach and go lay on the beach or go swim, and I wouldn't think to put sunscreen on because I was only going for an hour, but that's all you need in Florida to get a pretty bad sunburn.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I
And
wasn't
then
as good with it as I should have.
how long have you lived in San Diego or
About
California?
5 years.
Okay. Yeah. So you're in great sunny locations for your
Yep.
ski.
I like the
So
sun, but it's not good for you.
that's the moral of this story for sure.
Yes.
So so tell me, so your primary said didn't he wasn't concerned, but he did send you to the dermatologist. That dermatologist said
hmm
that he wasn't concerned either.
So it wasn't, if you can look up online what a mole that's concerning should look like. It usually has ragged edges. It'll be different colors. Um, it'll be itchy, which it could mean it's just precancerous or something else. But so my mole was actually, my melanoma grew on a mole that I already had. So it
Oh,
looked like a mole. It just looked like the mole had essentially spread a little bit.
oh, okay, okay.
So it means to them it just kind of looked like the normal, had rounder edges. It wasn't anything out of the ordinary looking. So the itchiness, though, that is why he did the biopsy, because I said it was itchy. If I hadn't said that, he probably wouldn't have done anything about it.
Oh, good for you. I mean, that's smart,
Yeah.
right? Because obviously, having grown up in Florida, you knew, and plus your friend's
hmm
parents were dermatologists, which is always
Yep.
very good to have nearby, especially
Yeah.
if it's.
Very thankful for them. Yeah.
So they did the biopsy, and how long was the biopsy before you got the results of it?
About a week.
A week. Okay.
Yeah.
And
So,
you got a phone call from the dermatologist.
yes.
Okay.
And then he said that the margins were just deep enough that I would need to get surgery to have it removed, with the addition of getting lymph nodes biopsied.
Okay. And was the dermatologist going to do it, or did you have to go to a surgeon?
No, I had to get a different surgeon. I think he was from general surgery, or he specialized in doing melanoma. I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
Kaiser is, they kind of just assign someone to you. You don't really get to pick.
Oh.
So they gave me him as my surgeon. And I met him. Obviously, you can have a say. Once I met him, I trusted him. He seemed like good head on his shoulders, and he knew what he was talking about. So
Did
I
you
was
do
happy to
any
keep.
did you do any research on him?
No, I didn't actually. I just knew he worked for Kaiser, which to me is a renowned healthcare out here in San Diego. So I just kind of trusted the process,
Okay.
which
And what
I'm not sure how that works in the world, if you can, pick and choose if they would cover my insurance if I went to someone else. I kind of
okay.
just went the easier route with that.
Okay. So, and what was that like meeting him? Like you go in, you don't know him, right? And but he's the one
Yep.
that you're assigned to. So what was that?
He Yeah, he tried to get to know me, and I tried to get to know him and his background, how much he had done this before. He did say that it's unlucky at my age to have had this happen. And I went and said, it's my fault. I grew up in Florida and didn't wear as much sunscreen. And he was like, no, like this stuff is at your age, even if you were being exposed to something like that, you wouldn't necessarily be getting melanomas at this point. He thought it was just something that would have happened either way, is what my take of what he said,
Hmm.
what
Okay.
his opinion on it was. It definitely doesn't help that I was in the sun, but he did say, like, it's odd to have this happen at a young age.
Yeah. Well, and listen, I
So,
mean, besides the melanoma and skin cancers, this is what, November, and all throughout this last year, we've been seeing really young people get cancers, and that colon
hmm
cancers and lung cancers that you don't typically see a young person gets. And to his point,
yeah,
a
it's scary.
melanoma at your age, right, is unusual. Um,
hmm
he's scheduled, so you see him, and then how long does it take to schedule surgery?
Um, it took about a month and a half. So this was probably early May that I saw him, and it took until June 19th to get me in. The radiology was the backup. If he didn't have to put me through radiology, which is where they inject the dye into the mole site to find out where the lymph nodes go, if they didn't have to do that, he would have been able to get me in immediately. But we had to wait for an opening in the radiology department to get me in for surgery.
Mm.
So that took about a month. Yeah.
And through this, I know I joke on a lot of episodes about patients going on to Google, or Dr. Google, as we say. Did you do that during this time?
I did a little. I didn't know anything about melanoma going into it. I did a little bit of Googling to like see the severity and try to understand why they were taking lymph nodes out and the margins. I didn't really do extensive research until after I found out that it hadn't spread, though, because I didn't really want to scare myself.
Good move. Good move.
Yeah. Because I know if you don't catch it, now I know if you don't catch it early enough, and if it spreads, there's like a 40% chance in 5 years it'll get to your brain, and that's when it's really bad. So I was kind of, I'm not going to read anymore. I'm just going to find out if it's spread before I freak out.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Really, it does. I'm honestly, because people, like you said, I mean, every case is individual. Everybody's different. You don't know the results. A lot of people just kind of go to the dark side, right? And that's not necessarily healthy because you're different. And in your case, it hadn't spread, right? So.
Yeah.
So
my mom did the research for me. She freaked out for me.
Well, good thing you were on the ball. So you go into surgery, and what was that like for you?
It was very smooth. They got me in at, I think, 8 a.m. to radiology. So they admitted me first, then took me down to radiology, did the blood mapping, found out which lymph nodes to take out, which was supposed to be 1 in my left groin and 2 in my left groin, 1 in my right. And then they took me up to surgery. It took about 2 or 3 hours to actually, get the IV and be taken back and put under. And then I went to sleep for 2 hours and woke up, and all was well. I had no pain. They did the local anesthetic. So I woke up being able to get up just fine. They did take out different lymph nodes than what they said, though. They took out 1 on my left and 3 on my right, when it was supposed to be 2 on my left and 1 on my right. So he had said that he couldn't, he said he couldn't find the second one on my left side, but he got the primary one. I forget the word for it, but there's a word for that first lymph node that the blood goes to from the melanoma. I'm not sure if you know it, but
Sentinel?
The primary lymph node he said he got, the sentinel one. He got that, and then the right side, I don't know really why he took 3. I think because they were really close together. I didn't actually ask why. But he said he was very happy with how the surgery went and confident that they did the right removals. So I just went home from there and recovered.
Okay. And the suspicious mole was lower back, correct?
Yes, my lower back, really close to my spine. So it's pretty central of my back. But the lower side.
So he was confident that he got good margins on that, and then the lymph nodes were sent for pathology. And then when did you find the results from the lymph nodes?
It was either a week or 2 weeks. He called and said that it was clear, and he called to see how I was doing.
Okay. The actual surgeon?
Yes, my actual surgeon.
Oh boy, that's great. You must.
He definitely seems like he cared. Cared about
great.
my well-being and the results. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Usually you get either a text message or a nurse calls, but you don't often get the surgeon to call. That's wonderful.
I know. No, that he was very hands-on throughout the process and very wanted to make sure I felt okay about everything. He was great. I wish I could remember his name right now, but I don't. But it was a very good process. I did, and then I did mention to you that I had a little bit of complications with my post-recovery when I went in for my post-op, which was about 2 weeks after surgery. The PA that I saw, she cleared me to start running again because I was training for a half marathon. and I couldn't lift any weights, but she cleared me for running. And so like that night I went for a run. I went about 3/4 of a mile, and I checked my lymph nodes sites, and they were very swollen, and it felt like a golf ball of like hard liquid underneath my wounds. So that wasn't good. That went into me freaking out a little bit, and I called the emergency care line, and they were just like, "Are you in extreme pain?" And I said, "No, it's more just uncomfortable and it's concerning." And they're like, "Just call your surgeon's office the next day when they're open." So that's what I did, and I talked to a PA, and I explained, what they felt like, if it hurt or not, and they were like, "It sounds like something it should just go away. Give it a week or two, and if it gets worse, give us another call." And so I did that, and that's kind of when I reached out to you guys, the guardian nurses, and got your opinion on whether this is something that's normal, if I should be going in to be seen. And you were pretty encouraging on, yes, go and, get checked out, make sure it's okay. It doesn't hurt to go in.
Right.
So
right?
I called.
That was the point.
Sorry?
I said that was the point, is to get in and let them lay eyes on you, right?
Yeah, like how can they know what it is without physically seeing it or touching it? So they got me in a couple weeks later. I called them like probably a week and a half later and said, it's not getting better. One side's getting worse. Can you see me? So I came in, and that's when my surgeon saw me, and he was like, "I just read your notes. I didn't even know you were having issues.
No.
Next time, please, here's my phone number. Please give me a direct call, or if you're calling the office, make sure you leave a message for me." So through that, I guess nobody had told him what was going on, which, wasn't the best situation.
Well,
so he checked me out, and I was worried it was herniated, and he wasn't able to tell me positively that it wasn't. He said he was pretty sure it was just fluid buildup, but we'll get me in for a CT scan in a month. We'll give it another month before we put me in that radiology, because it's not good it's my groin, so it's close to my uterus. He's like, it's not good to be exposed to that if you can avoid it. So I waited, and about 3 weeks later, the swelling went down, and I was fine.
But here's the question. Were you running the whole time, or did he tell you to stop running?
He just said to keep an eye on it. If it's going to get worse, if I go for a run and it looks and feels worse, to stop. But if it feels okay, you can continue. I mean, I was pretty adamant about wanting to run because I was a month out from a half marathon, and I knew it would be awful if I didn't. But I mean, in hindsight, I definitely should have just not run. But he did not tell me I needed to stop. No.
Oh, wow. Okay. But in the end, it all worked out, and the fluid or the swelling came down, and you've been fine, right?
Yes. Yep. All fine since.
How did you do in the half marathon?
I was pretty slow, but we got it done. It was good.
Hey, at least you did it. I mean, there's a lot of people who wouldn't be doing it even despite not having surgery if they were just healthy.
Yeah, there was a point there where I thought there was no way I would be able to, but once the swelling went down and I had a couple solid weeks of training, I was able to confidently do it. Definitely a slower time than I'm used to, but that's okay.
Oh, that's okay.
I was proud to have gotten it done.
Absolutely. So was this the first, I guess, serious healthcare experience that you've had?
Yeah, other than getting my wisdom teeth out, that was the first time I was put under for surgery and had a serious health problem. Yeah. Honestly, in my opinion, getting the IV in my arm was the worst part because you're awake for that.
And you didn't have any problem with post-op pain?
Not really. So I had a little bit a couple of days later, just pain when I would lay down or sit because of the pressure. There was no way to relieve pressure. If I laid down, it was pressure on my back, the wound on my back, and if I was sitting up, it was pressure on the wounds on my groin. So I was very uncomfortable. I wasn't prescribed much oxy. He was very hesitant on even prescribing it at all. And Spencer was actually the one who said, we should at least give her a few, so like just in case. I ended up only needing to use 1 or 2. Thankfully, I had it because I was in a lot of pain after a couple of days of just being uncomfortable, and muscle relaxers helped a lot. But I'm not sure why he was hesitant on, giving that, because I don't have a history of drug abuse. But each doctor, I guess, has their own opinions on it.
Yeah, so. And there's a lot of energy against really. There shouldn't be, because you had surgery. When you get cut, you're going to have pain, but sometimes they get really leery of prescribing too many. But seriously, getting 6 is not going to make you addicted.
Right. So I ended up not eating them, so it wasn't a huge issue. But yeah, he had strong opinions against giving young people any sort of narcotics.
Well,
painkillers.
So do I, but not when they've had surgery.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what lessons, when you think you're young and you're thinking ahead, and hopefully you won't have any other serious healthcare experience that you get older, but what lessons will you take to the next one? What have you learned through this experience?
Definitely go in as soon as possible. It's better to go and have them tell you it's nothing to be worried about than to not go in at all. Reach out to those who have more experience. So for me, it was my friends, dermatologists, parents, and being able to reach out to guardian nurses and having their opinion. Don't be afraid to reach out to people about it. And just utilizing the healthcare that we have here. It's, we've got access to a lot of good doctors and surgeons, and don't be afraid to just go. It's not a waste of time.
Right.
And always check yourself. I will always be going to the dermatologist every 6 months for the rest of my life, because it's not worth the uncertainty. Everybody should go once a year, even if you don't think you have anything on you that's of concern. It could save your life. I mean, they say if I had waited to get mine biopsied and removed, it can spread, and then you have to go through the whole cancer treatment and chemo, or even worse. So just try to catch things early.
Yeah, and there's a lot of melanoma being diagnosed, sadly. So you were on the ball. So I congratulate you on that.
Thank you. Yeah, lean on your friends who've been through it, and do your research. Is all I can say is it's scarier than you might think it is. I didn't even know melanoma was cancer, to be honest. I just thought it was something on your skin, and to know that it's something that could spread to your organs and brain is scary. So definitely do research.
So tell me about, well, depending on where, and there we go back to Dr. Google again. How has it changed the way you, I guess, interact with the sun now?
Oh, yes. I always wear sunscreen. I'm wearing hats now so that my scalp doesn't get burned. Long sleeves when I'm just out for a walk, if I can help it. Wow. If there's any young women out there who like to be tan that are listening, my dermatologist said to self-tan or go to like a spray tan. If you really want to be tan, that's better than going in the sun. So that's what I will be doing from now on.
Good advice, right. Yeah, it's not worth it. It's not worth your life or the treatment that you might have to have if it is a melanoma.
Exactly.
Yeah. Did the dermatologist, when you were interacting, I'm just curious about, there's a lot of discussion about, the SPF factor, like is it a 30, a 60, a 70? And I've certainly seen research where, anything above 30 is kind of like overkill, like you're not really getting a 50. Did he make any recommendations?
Yeah. He might have. I don't remember. I don't know if I even asked him that. He just said wear sunscreen and cover up.
Okay.
I'm going to be seeing him in a couple of weeks, so I'll definitely be asking him that then. But he didn't say, I don't remember the words of him saying it's overkill to wear a higher SPF.
Yeah. Well, at a certain point, it's not like 70 or not. I think you see sometimes in stores where they have 70 plus or 50 plus, and it's like, yeah, I'm not sure it
Yeah.
really is worth it. Just
Yeah.
wear something, to your point, right?
I think the most important is if you're like going to be at the beach, wear the waterproof ones, because if you put it on and you immediately wash it off, then that's not going to do anything.
Right. Have you
So,
have you been vocal with your friends about their
yeah,
exposure?
I'm immediately told them what was going on and said, use this as advice to get your skin checked and wear sunscreen. It's surprising though, my friends are very much in their skincare, making sure they're wearing sunscreen in their makeup, sunscreen in their lotion, wearing hats if we're going to be out walking. It's pretty much it's like a trendy thing in San Diego to have skincare. So it
Oh, okay.
doesn't hurt to have
Good.
the good skincare trend and it's like products that we do out there now. It's definitely more prevalent to buy a sunscreen makeup rather than makeup that doesn't have any in it.
Great. Great. Yeah, if you
It
can,
helps a
right?
lot.
There's tools out there, and you should use the tools that are available.
Mhm.
It's only going to help
Yeah.
protect your skin even from signs of aging, not much less melanoma or,
Yeah.
in my case, basal cell skin cancers, because we're Irish, and that's what happens when you get like you
Yeah.
said, a bad burn, and years later you're paying for it. So
Yeah. Definitely trying to be more preventative now. There's some great like eye products out there to help prevent, wrinkles around your eyes when you get older that all my friends harp on wearing. So face sunscreen and your makeup and under eye cream would be the biggest suggestions I
okay.
have. Yeah.
Good. That's good. That's good. No, and I mean, I'm sorry that you had to go through this to be even more attentive to your skin and to your health care, but I'm glad that you made it through okay and that you're
Yeah.
back
I
on the
think in a
road.
way it happened for a reason. It made me more aware of what can happen with too much sun exposure. If I didn't start wearing sunscreen now because of this, who's to say in 10 years it would be
Right.
even worse.
Right. Good
So
point.
I think everything happens for a reason and is a sign to wake up and cover yourself up and realize that the sun can be harmful. It's not just to be tan and pretty.
Right.
So
Was there any other skin cancers like your mom or dad? I mean, anybody else that had, are you the
no,
first?
no one's had melanoma. My dad and sister had precancerous cells removed,
Okay.
moles removed, but no one's had melanoma in my family, no.
Wow. Yeah, you're special
Not that I
in many
know of.
ways.
Yeah, thank you. Hopefully in good ways.
Well, thank you for having the conversation. I appreciate it. I certainly learned some things from you, so I'm always grateful for that when patients
Good.
tell us about their experience. But I will say to
Yeah.
you, as a learning tool, I know you're with Kaiser, but you might, next time, just consider getting a second opinion. Not that you didn't
Yeah.
do well with this surgeon, but just if there's something else going on, you can always get a second
Yeah.
opinion. And that
I
would,
I agree now, and you know, it depends where you're getting surgery, but I know I've heard out there that some people say like, if I had a female, they would have maybe been more cognizant of like where they cut, because as much as he was trying to make the incisions where like my bikini line would be so that you wouldn't see it when I'm wearing a bathing suit, like it's not in like the incisions are noticeable when I'm in a bathing suit. So it just depends, I guess, if you care about that aspect or not. If you want someone
right,
who's going to do an aesthetically really good job, do your research on that, because it
right,
could make a difference in how the incision looks.
right, or
So
have
yeah,
that
that's the only other
conversation.
thing that I probably would have looked into.
Well, I think it's important. That's why, you're talking, right? And that's why we're recording this, because I
Mhm.
think it's important. Some of these things you don't know. You're young. This is your first experience with a surgeon, so except for your
Yeah.
wisdom. But
Yeah, and
having
that was when I was young, so my mom took care of that.
right,
So yeah, this
right,
is my first time like finding my own or having my own surgeon and making the decisions for myself.
right, right. Yeah, it's stuff you don't think about. So next time you will. Hey,
Hmm.
where's the incision going to be, and is it going to be noticeable? I'd prefer, is there any way we could have it
Yeah.
here so that, yeah, so live and learn, right, as
Yeah.
they say.
Hopefully someone can listen to this and get some advice. I would
No,
love
I
to help
appreciate
people
that.
out there from my experience. So
That's
thank
why
you for
we're
having
doing
me
it.
on. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Oh, oh, you're welcome. No, thanks for taking the time, and I hope you continue to stay well and keep running those half marathons.
Thank you, Betty. I appreciate
Okay.
it.
All right.
Have a good
Take
one.
care.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us this week. You can find the Lighting Your Way podcast on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and Stitcher. If you found our conversation helpful, please share it with your friends and leave us a review. You can learn all about how Guardian Nurses helps patients and their families when they need it most at our website, guardiannurses.com. So until next time, find some joy in your life and pet all the good doggies and kitties, and remember to tell your people that you love them.